Yeah, today we'll be getting into Durham's Black Wall Street. So I'm gonna share with y'all that
Black business districts throughout the United States, one of which was perhaps the most wealthy and the biggest, was in Durham, North Carolina. In the early 20th century, Parish Street in Durham, North Carolina was the hub of African American business activity. This four-block district was also known as Black Wall Street. Although other cities had similar districts, Durham's was one of the most vital and was nationally known. Parish Street bordered the Haiti community, Durham's main African American residential district, and the two districts together served as the center of Black life in Durham. Elsewhere in North Carolina, in the depths of the Jim Crow era, race relations were as bad as they ever had been, but Durham's Black business district thrived. In 1906, the North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company, the nation's largest Black-owned insurance company, moved its headquarters to Parish Street. It was soon joined by the mechanics of Farmers Bank, and the founder of the North Carolina Mutual also invested in real estate and textiles. National leaders W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington both visited the city in 1912 and 1910, respectively, and praised Black entrepreneurship. During a time period when disenfranchising Blacks and openly violating their rights was common, the Black populations of Durham were making strides in business that challenged the legitimacy of white supremacy. Black-owned business in Durham can be traced back to the efforts of two African-American entrepreneurs, John Merrick and Charles Spalding. This district was able to increase African-American wealth. The region also promoted basic social reconstruction for Blacks. The southern United States were left in tumult in the few decades of Reconstruction following the Civil War. During the late 1800s, most of these southern regions were rebuilding infrastructure damaged by war. Racial tensions were at an all-time high due to the recent emancipation of all Black slaves and the new economic and social competition they represented in many of their white eyes. But though these African Americans had been freed, their quality of life saw little improvement. Estimates from government officials say almost 85% of Blacks were living below the poverty line during the late 1800s. Automatically placed at the bottom of the social ladder, Blacks were denied virtually all rights afforded to whites. The emergence of John Merrick changed the identity of Black businessmen. Merrick was able to reach prominence in his community through his long-standing friendship with Washington Duke. Originally a barber by profession, Merrick gained enough money through the income and loans to open North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance, which was later expanded with the efforts of Charles Spalding. John Henry Merrick, insurance agent, entrepreneur, business owner, was born in Clinton, North Carolina on September 7, 1859. Merrick was born a slave, When he was not shining shoes, he watched and learned the trade of barbering. In 1880, his friend John Wright asked Merrick to join him in relocating in Durham, North Carolina to start a new barbershop business. He bought and built rental properties, and by the end of the decade, Merrick was one of the largest property owners in Haiti. Merrick then joined the two other Durham businessmen, Dr. Aaron M. Moore and Charles Clinton Spaulding, to create the Merrick Moore Spaulding Land Company. In 1883, the Power Group joined other prominent businessmen to purchase the Royal Knights of King David, a fraternal lodge which had a budding insurance business. The Royal Knights of King David provided inexpensive insurance policies to lodge members. Often, this was the only insurance available to African Americans in the Durham area. The lodge and its insurance business expanded across 6 southeastern states over the next 25 years. Merrick is most remembered as one of the founders of the North Carolina Mutual Provident Life Insurance Company, which eventually became the largest Black-owned insurance company in the United States. Charles Spaulding was an African-American business leader. For close to 30 years, he presided over North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company, which had assets over $40 million. Aaron McDuffie Moore was the first Black medical doctor of Durham, North Carolina, and a prominent leader in the African-American community based in the part of the city known as Haiti. He is best known for founding the Lincoln Hospital, a medical facility that served Negro patients during a time of racial segregation. Through philanthropic works and business enterprises, Dr. Moore played a significant role in improving the standard of living of African Americans in Durham, in addition to improving the healthcare and economy.
Live streaming can be tricky and
Pearson was born a slave in Durham County on April 11, 1859. After he was freed, he worked at the car factory where General Julian S. Carr, the owner, recognized his potential and financed his education at Shaw University. Pearson graduated from Shaw with a BS in 1886 and received an honorary MA in 1890. He was awarded an honorary PhD from Cottrell College in 1915 and Wilberforce University in 1919. On June 6, 1893, Pearson married Minnie Sumner of Charlotte, a teacher. The area saw a steady increase of population, wealth, and diversity of occupation. By 1890, the number of colored people in Durham was 1,858, or 33.8% of the total population. The year 1910 exhibited an increase of over 200% in the total population, and the African American population was approximately 38% of the total population. It is clear that whites were not impeding the development of this population in light of their own endeavors. The numbers based on wealth were even more staggering. The total valuation of Black property in the country was about $9,000 in 1890. By 1920, this valuation skyrocketed to an astounding $4.2 million. Ladies and gentlemen, it is clear. Once again, this shows that when left alone, our people thrive. Just give us the ball, let a player play, and move out the way. These are some of the people who thrived during that era. And these are some of the buildings on Parish Street in Durham, North Carolina, known as Black Wall Street. Even after accounting for inflation, the level of growth for Black Wall Street was incredible. Booker T. Washington mentioned in his commentary of Durham the level of vocational diversity. He wrote that he had never seen a city of this size, so many prosperous blacksmiths, wheelwrights, cotton mill operatives, and tobacco factory owners among the Negroes. This is another example of the areas known as Black Wall Street. Now keep in mind, there were more than 100 such communities sprinkled throughout the United States where Black people owned, operated, and thrived on our own. I pray for the day that we get back to the point where we are in control of our own economy. The Black Excellence and Abundance Channel, where Black history is every day.